What's up, guys? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Niners News here on 49ers Hive. My name is Zach Hernandez, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Matt Llewellyn, here to bring you this episode because we are finally able to report that Deebo Samuel and George Kittle are full participants at practice. Matt, how much was their presence missed in the first 3 games of the 49ers season?
Well, I mean, they came out of that 2-1, so, wins and losses, maybe not the most missed. Maybe particularly week one Deebo, probably the most. But, other than that, I mean, you always want your guys out there healthy. It's just going forward is where the important part comes in. So, they're both dynamic playmakers. They're both a huge part of this offense. And without them, obviously, you put pressure on other guys who might not necessarily be up to the task. So, having them, especially if Jimmy doesn't play again this week, maybe that, helps out Nick Mullins a little bit if Nick Mullins has to go again. But it's just good to get your guys healthy. So the theme of the year so far has been injuries, and we've had a litany of them, probably hit harder than most teams in the NFL. I could think maybe the Eagles, maybe another. I'm having a hard time thinking of who has it worse than the 49ers in terms of injuries. So, getting those guys back is very important. It's good for morale. It's good to see some big names come back, and now it's just a matter of getting them out on the field, keeping them healthy, and then the reinforcements just kind of come in behind them. So if they can keep winning games, it's all the better.
Yeah, I know. I was actually talking to somebody on Twitter today, and it was about Kyle Nelson, not Deebo, but he kind of said, like, they went last season 8-0 without Kyle Nelson, but I was kind of thinking more lines into the actual game. Although they did go 2-1 to start the season, their presence was missed. Last week we saw rookie Brandon Ayuk have a nice game. He had 100 total scrimmage yards and a touchdown. But prior to that, I mean, week 2 was not great for the wide receivers to say, and especially week 1 was not good at all for the receivers, so much to the fact that Kyle Shanahan had to come out afterwards and say, well, it was actually by design. The game plan didn't really focus on them too much. So I am really, really happy to see Deebo finally get back into it, especially from the rookie year that he had. He was kind of primed to have a huge sophomore year. At least I was hoping so for it. And as far as Kittle, man, it's like, hopefully nobody else goes low on him, because that just always seems to happen with him. He takes that low shot to the knee and you just see it kind of buckle. And the 49ers can't afford to not have him, especially with Jordan Reed now reportedly going to miss, I believe, 6 to 8 weeks with, sprained MCL, I believe. So the 49ers, unfortunately, are not going to be able to have the both of them out there at the same time, at least for the first half of the season. But what I think is really important here is that most of these guys are going to be coming back at least week 6 and up towards the end of the season, when more teams are kind of getting injured and the grind is kind of wearing on them. The 49ers will be getting healthier and healthier and adding guys. So I'm excited to see that. Now, Matt, as far as Sunday night when we play the Eagles, do you envision either of these guys playing?
Kittle and Deebo? Oh, they're both going to play. Yeah, they're both going to play. They're full participants in Wednesday's practice. There's no reason, unless they have like any, crazy setbacks, that they should miss, the Sunday night game against the Eagles. And I think that was the plan for Deebo all along. I think Kyle was finessing the rules a little bit to get Deebo on that 3-week IR, that short-term IR, to kind of protect him from what now it looks like a brilliant move because of that turf in New Jersey 2 weeks in a row with the travel in between to West Virginia. It just looked like, a great decision to keep Deebo until he could, hit the grass for the first couple games, and same thing with Kittle. Kittle probably could have played. The turf definitely played a part in their decision-making. I know some people will be like, well, if you're healthy enough to go, then you go, but that's not always the case. There are other factors involved, and that turf is definitely going to be a factor, especially with, the amount of lower body injuries we saw over the course of 2 weeks. It's from Nick Bosa to Solomon Thomas, last week Jordan Reed, the Jimmy Garoppolo, the list goes on and on. So if you can protect Kittle for one extra week and, shut down Kittle before he can, get into that froth about a game, he's a madman and he wants to be out there. If you can shut him down ahead of time, then you can kind of, figure out how to work around that until you can get him back on natural grass. It's a week, it's safer. It's going to be, better for him to get out there during that. You don't have to worry about that, that catching of the feet and stuff. So, it'll be nice to have them both back out there. Again, Deebo, I think he was not quite ready for week one, just about there, but they decided to give him the extra time anyway. So it's easier to stash him for 3 weeks than it is to, oh, well, he's going to play week one, but maybe he's questionable for week two because it's lingering. You don't want to rush him out there, especially with foot injuries. So now that he's back, I expect him to, be back.
Yeah, I only asked because, and I totally agree with you. I think that, like you said, Kyle said himself, he was kind of finessing the system to get Deebo to miss those turf games, which, yeah, totally in hindsight was a genius move. But I was only asking because this game kind of feels similar to the last two games where the 49ers could probably win without Kittle and Deebo on the field. And, my mindset, I'm kind of thinking, like, is it worth playing them and possibly risking an injury? Or do you sit them and let them rest another week? Do you think that would kind of be, there's no reason for that? Just get them out there. They're healthy and they're back home, not on turf.
No, because the Eagles are not the Jets and the Giants. And as much as Carson Wentz is struggling, they're not a trash team. You know what I mean? They're just struggling right now. So, anytime you run a football player out there, you risk injury. So at some point you got to you got to sack up and throw your players out there. They're either ready or they're not. And if they're ready, then, if there's no other outside concerns, but you can't just keep kicking the can down the road. Oh, well, this team could be beatable. Well, we got out of this 2-1. Well, you never know. Any given Sunday, anything can happen. So you put your strongest group out there, regardless. If the doctors say they can go and they practice and you see that they're not being hobbled by anything, and you're not worried about a playing surface or anything like that, then you throw them out there. There's no question about it. There's no, oh, well, the Eagles kind of suck right now, so let's just wait for the Dolphins, who also suck. And then it's like, well, okay, well, if you're going to do that, then maybe you wait for the Dolphins. Oh, well, then we have to go to New England and play on the turf. So now maybe you go an extra week, and it's just ridiculous. At some point, you just put them out there. So that's not a consideration at all for me. If they're practicing, which they were both full participants, then you play them on Sunday. That's the whole goal. If you're well enough to practice every day, you're well enough to play the game.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's like, the line's just going to keep moving further and further down. You're going to be, well, this game, he doesn't really need him, so we'll push it out. And, I only asked because I did see it on Twitter. People were saying, why rush them back? They don't really need them for this game. They should let them rest another game. But, I mean, It's kind of pointless to do that.
You know how I feel about Twitter, though. Twitter is a lot of armchair coaches that think they know things, and they don't know anything. And they're the first people that are, that will say, oh, Jimmy Garoppolo stinks. Nick Mullins, put him in. And then when Nick Mullins has a bad game, it's like, oh, Nick Mullins sucks. Get back to Jimmy Garoppolo. They're so wishy-washy. It's people on Twitter. You can't take Twitter seriously. Twitter is like the bottom of the barrel as far as, reasonable opinions go, especially with your sports team. And that's no disrespect to the fans out there. Like, we all have our opinions and stuff. But if you're looking for actual critical evaluation of a team, I don't know that, the average Twitter user is going to be the guy that you want to go to. There are 49ers people out there that break down the team. They do a great job. They're going to give you, their absolute best, and they're in it as far as, a living. So, it's just like anything I say. I'm not perfect. There's going to be things that I'm going to be wrong about and that I don't know about, so it's not like I'm trying to, act like I'm better than anybody or anything like that. But, just to say, oh, well, why rush them back? Well, if the doctor says they're ready to go and they're practicing, then you're not really rushing, are you? They're ready to go. Like you stick a loaf of bread in the oven and you cook it and it looks golden brown and it's cooked all the way through and you check it. You're not rushing it if you pull it out of the oven. It's ready to go. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, great analogy there. Now, wrapping it up here, my last question for you is, do you think either of them will kind of be on a snap count, or do you think they'll just be out there like they were playing the last couple of weeks?
I don't think they could. If Kittle's ready to go, he's not going to be on a snap count because they don't have the depth of the position. I can see more of like package-based stuff for Deebo, but then again, at the same time, if you have him out there and he's running routes and he's ready to go, then he's ready to go. So, once the foot is healed, and it's actually healed, and the doctors are ready, to make sure that it's healed, and they say it's good to go, and he doesn't have any pain. At that point, it's like, well, it's healed. So then what's the purpose of a snap count? Like, it's just one of those, you're either ready to go or you're not. So, and having Deebo out there and having George out there is going to open things up for everybody else. So you don't necessarily have to, it's not, they go from not playing to being targeted 72 times a game. You know what I mean? So if they're ready to go, they're ready to go.
Yeah, and we will talk about in our next episode how this will help Jimmy Garoppolo and even Nick Mullins if he plays. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that tomorrow morning. But I think that's going to do it for us today. I want to thank you all for tuning in to another episode of Niners News here on 49ers Hive. My name is Zach Hernandez. That's Matt Llewellyn. If you like the video, subscribe for more content just like this. Drop a comment below. How excited are you to see Deebo and Kittle back? Make sure you like this video as well.
Go ahead and click notifications so you never miss one of our videos. We're dropping them, pretty much every day of the week. So until next time, go Niners.